Hello friends, in this video I am going to explain you the second part, means fourth chapter, remaining a portion of the fourth chapter. Okay, so in the previous video I explained, now you can see what I explained. So in this previous video I explained about basic challenges of organizational design. Okay, so basic challenges, what are different types of problems may arise when we design any organization. So the first the topic, it was differentiation, means it was how much allocation, how much resources to allocate to any particular task, and in this process the resource, it may be human resource also. Okay, now organizational roles I explained. Then after subunits, just like function and divisions, I explained, and then here vertical and horizontal differentiation also I explained. So here the basic problem, okay, the basic challenge for any manager when the manager try to create any structure in the organization. Here given three. So first given differentiation integration, means the manager has to uh, make balance. He has to balance in the differentiation and integration, how much to differentiate and how much to integrate. And the second challenge, it is to balance centralization and decentralization, like how much to decentralize and how much to centralize. Because if too much centralization, then also that is not good. If too much decentralization, then in that case that is also not good for the organization. So proper balance should be there in between centralization and decentralization. Then next here given a standardization and mutual adjustment. So here how much, means how to standardize and how much there should be mutual adjustment. Okay, so about these things we are going to study in detail. So first here it was balancing differentiation and integration. So here as you can see, okay, let me select to draw. Okay, which color? Okay, I think this color. Okay, so this color if I select. So now let's check how it is going to hide. Okay, so the first point here given, balancing differentiation and integration. So now that is, now another color I think I should choose. I think this color, it will be better. So as a result of horizontal differentiation, the members of different, again the member of different functions or division develop a subunit orientation. So that it is, so whenever there is differentiation, the members of different functions or divisions develop subunit orientation. It means they start to think from their subunit perspective. Okay, not from the perspective of the whole organization. So that type of problem it arises. So that's why here it is, now you can see written. So what is subunit orientation? A tendency to view one's role in the organization strictly from the perspective of the time frame, goals and interpersonal orientation of one subunit. Okay, okay, from the perspective of one's unit or division, the members uh, start to see the whole picture, means whole organization. So and they don't see from the perspective of the whole organization. They try to see, they start to see, not try, they start to see different problems from the perspective of different subunits. So that is the problem that arises uh, when we differentiate the organization. Means when we differentiate the rows or different functions in different functions and divisions. So here given horizontal differentiation is supposed to enable people to specialize and thus become more productive. So the reason behind horizontal differentiation, it was to enable people to specialize and thus become more productive. Okay, for making people more productive, that it was the reason behind horizontal differentiation. But in some cases, what happens here, people start to develop subunit orientation, which is not good for the organization as a whole. To avoid communication problem, now you can see, to avoid communication problems that can arise from horizontal differentiation, means here from, if members start to see from the perspective of subunits or division, then it means there is communication gap. Okay, there is gap of communication among different subunits or divisions. So how we can avoid those communication problems? So that can arise from, now you see here given organization. So where it is, yes. Here given organizations try to find new or better ways to, now you see, to overcome such problems of differentiation. Organizations try to find new or better ways to integrate functions. Okay, better ways to integrate whatever problem arised due to differentiation, that can be overcome. So that problem of communication can be overcome by integrating different functions. That is how that can be integrated, that is to promote cooperation. So by promoting cooperation, coordination and communication among separate subunits, we can overcome those problems of communication gap among different subunits. Okay, so these are different ways of integration. Yes, by promoting cooperation, that is a way to integrate the coordination also and communication also. These are different ways by which we can coordinate, sorry, not coordinate, we can integrate different subunits. Next here given integration and integrating mechanism. So here integration, what is that? Here you can see what is integration. Integration is the process of coordinating various tasks, functions and divisions so that they work together, not at cross purposes. Means it is a process of coordinating various tasks. Integration, now you see clearly here written integration. Here integration is the process of coordination of various tasks, functions and divisions. So it means that it means integration is a type of process of coordinating various tasks, divisions and subunits or functions, you can say. The following are different types of integrating mechanisms or techniques. So here given different ways by which we can integrate different subunits or functions or divisions. So the first here given hierarchy of authority. So first given here hierarchy of authority. Because the hierarchy dictates who reports to whom, it coordinates various organizational roles. Managers must carefully divide and allocate authority within a function and between one function and others to promote coordination. So we know that integration meaning if integrating process it involves coordination, okay, and communication. So here by using hierarchy of authority we can better enable different subunits to coordinate among each other and coordinate also among each other. So that's why here written, because the hierarchy dictates who reports to whom. So here who reports to whom, it coordinates. So here it is the coordinating process by who reports to whom. Various organizational roles can be integrated easily. Second, here given direct control. So here direct control, not direct contact. So direct contact, here managers meet face to face to coordinate activity. So here managers are directly responsible for coordinating different activities. Next given lesson rules. Yeah. Lesson rules means a specific manager is given responsibility for coordinating with managers from other subunits or behalf of his or her subunit. Now you can say a specific manager is given responsibility. A particular manager in any particular subunit or division given a special responsibility for coordinating with the managers from subunits or from other subunits, you can say. Again, means here coordination means a particular manager is given a responsibility for coordinating with other subunits or divisions. Next given the fourth task force. So task force, what is given? So these are different integrating mechanism I'm explaining. So by using a task force, we can coordinate and communicate. We can communicate among different subunits or divisions. So here given, as an organization increases in size and complexity, more than two subunits may need to work together to solve common problems. Okay. The solution for this problem is a task force. So whenever common problem means if more than two or more than two subunits face a common problem, then in that case the solution can be by using task force. Task force, what is this? A temporary committee set up to handle a specific problem, okay, to solve that particular problem. Members from different subunits can come together and can solve the problem. Okay, no, that is temporary. Task force is temporary committee, that is. Next given teams. So here team, so now you can see here team is a permanent task force or committee. Now here it is written team is a permanent task force or committee. So here that is permanent task force and committee. So now you can think like that if there is common problem for many subunits, then in that case, and one more thing is that if that problem going to arise again and again in the future, okay, if that type of thing is going to happen, or if that is happening, so in that case that committee or that task force is going to be converted into permanent, okay, into a permanent structure. So that's why here given. So when the issue a task force is dealing with becomes an ongoing strategic or administrative issue, the task force becomes permanent, and that permanent task force is known as team. Sixth given here, so it was fifth and now sixth, integrating roles or departments. So as organizations become large and complex, communication barriers between functions and divisions are likely to increase. Okay, means whenever the organization going to be complex and large, then in that case it is common that so many barriers are going to be there and so many barriers are going to come. uh, so many barriers are going to come uh, for communication. So here one way to overcome these barriers is to create integrating roles that coordinate subunits. So integrating means establishing a permanent role for coordinating different subunits. An integrating role is a full-time managerial position. So here now you see, here given integrating role is a full-time and managerial position established especially to improve communication between divisions. So here by using this technique, what we can do, we can create the permanent managerial position to establish better communication among different subunits. So the purpose here given, the purpose is to promote the sharing of information. Now you can see the purpose here you given. The purpose here is to promote sharing of information, here sharing of information and knowledge to better pursue organizational goals such as product innovation, increased flexibility, and improved customer service. So now here the purpose is to uh, promote sharing of information and knowledge to better pursue organizational goals such as product innovation, increased flexibility, and improved customer service. Next given differentiation and integration. Seventh number you can see here. Differentiation and integration. A complex organization that is highly differentiated needs a high level of integration to effectively coordinate its activities. That is the common thing. If there is high level of differentiation in the organization, then there must be high level of integration also. If there is a high level of differentiation and less integration, then in that case a communication problem will arise, and due to that the organization will be less effective. So for that here given a new department is created to coordinate the activities of functions or divisions. So that was all about balancing differentiation and integration. Now next given balancing centralization and decentralization. That is the second issue. The issue of how much to centralize, the issue of how much to centralize and how much to decentralize the authority to make decisions offers a basic design challenge for all organizations. When the authority to make important decisions is retained by managers at the top of the hierarchy, the authority is said to be highly centralized. Now you see, when the authority to make important decisions is retained by managers at the top level, then that type of authority is said to be highly centralized authority. And in case of decentralized, the decision making, now you see here the second given here, when the authority to make important decisions about organizational resources and to initiate new project is delegated to managers at all levels in the hierarchy, authority is highly decentralized. It means managers at all level in the organization can take decisions and can initiate different types of projects as they think uh, they are going to be necessary. So that type of authority is known as this highly decentralized authority. So there are some problems or some issues related to highly centralized authority also and highly decentralized authority also. So what are these problems? If authority is too decentralized, managers have so much freedom that they can pursue their own functional goals and objectives at the expense of organizational goals. Okay. Here given, if authority is too decentralized, managers have so much freedom. Okay, if too much decentralized authority, then in that case managers have so much freedom, then they can initiate, they can pursue their own functional goals and objectives at the expense of others. Means rather than thinking about the organizational betterment, they can think about themselves and their own self-interest. So that is not good. On the other hand, if authority is too centralized and the top management makes all important decisions, managers in the lower hierarchy become afraid to make new moves and lack the freedom to respond to the problems as they arise in their own groups and departments. Now, next given. So, when the top management makes all important decisions and lower level managers do not have authority to make important decisions, then in that case, what will happen? So, they arise means here given the important decisions, managers in the lower hierarchy become afraid to make new moves and lack the freedom to respond to problems. They they afraid to make new moves. The lower level managers start to afraid to make new moves and lack the freedom to respond to problem, because at the ground level those managers who are working, they are better able to understand the problem, so that's why they are better able to take decisions and rectify the problems. But if the authority is too much centralized, then in that case they are not, they lack the freedom to take decisions. So that's why the problems cannot be solved in an effective way. So that, so these were the problems for highly centralized and highly decentralized authority. So what is the solution for that? Okay, so here too much or highly centralized authorities is also not good, and highly decentralized authority is also not good for the organization. So what is the solution for that? The solution for that here given the ideal situation. Now the ideal situation is a balance between, now what here it is given, the balance between centralization and decentralization of authority, so that middle and lower level managers, so now middle and lower level managers who are at the scene of the action are allowed to make important decisions, and the top managers primary responsibility becomes managing long term strategic decision making. So now means we have to balance the centralization and decentralization in such a way that lower level managers can take action or make decisions at lower level. Okay, they can take decisions now at lower level, means whatever different types of problems arise at lower level. Okay, if they are taking decisions, then in that case what will happen? Okay, let me. So if low level managers are making decisions for problems at the scene, then in that case high level or managers are free. Okay, they are free to think about long term strategic decision making. Okay, so then in that case the organization will be effective. So here given the result is a good balance between the long term strategic making and short term flexibility and innovation. So if there it is proper balance, then what will happen? There will be long-term strategy making and short-term flexibility and innovation, and lower level managers respond quickly to problems and changes in the environment as they occur. So if there it is proper balance, then lower level managers are flexible enough to make decisions so that whatever problems are coming, so they can solve, they can solve those problems quickly. Now next here given balancing, standardization, and mutual adjustment. Okay, so the challenge facing, here you can see the challenge facing all organizations, large and small, is to design a structure that achieves the right balance between standardization and mutual adjustment. So there should be proper balance in between the standardization. So now here it is standardization. Okay, standardization and mutual adjustment. So before going to that, how much there should be standardization and how much there should be mutual adjustment. First thing is that we should know that what it is standardization and what it is mutual adjustment. If you know those things, then we can think of that how we can balance this. So here given standardization is conformity. What is standardization? Is conformity to specific models or examples defined by set of rules and norms that are considered proper in a given situation. Now here it is a conformity. Standardization is conformity to a specific models that are considered proper in a given situation. So for example, in a given situation, in a particular given situation, if some type of problem arises, then in that case solution for that, it is given means proper way how to behave, it is already defined by a certain model. So now you can see here, here are considered means, that is considered means proper in a given situation. Standardization is conformity to a specific models that are considered proper in a given situation. So it means conformity for any particular situation. A model, it is already pre-established, and according to that, other people means members of the organization should behave and try to sort out the problems if there is any. Standardization, standardized decision making and coordination procedures make people's action routine and predictable. Here already predefined models are there, and accordingly means there should be conformity in between the behavior of different members and models, so that people's actions, now here given people's actions become routine and predictable in case of standardization. And second given here, mutual adjustment. Mutual adjustment is the process. Here you can see mutual adjustment is the process through which people use their judgment rather than standardized rules to address problems, guide decision making, and promote coordination. So now here, in case of standardization, it was the standard with which people were comparing their behavior or decisions, and then after they were taking decisions. So in case of mutual adjustment, what happens, you see, in case of mutual adjustment, the process through people use their judgment, in mutual adjustment, people don't use a standardized method to solve or take decision. What they do, they use their judgment, they use their own judgment, they use their own opinion, they use their own thinking, they use their own processing way to take decisions. Okay, so right balance makes some actions predictable so that basic organizational tasks and goals are achieved, yet it gives employees the freedom to behave flexibly so that they can respond to new and changing situation creatively. So now you can see here, this is the in the right balance. The right balance makes, so right balance among those all things, so whether how much to centralized and how much to standardized, and how much there should be mutual adjustment. If there is right balance, then actions become predictable, so that basic organizational tasks and goals are achieved. So whatever basic tasks and goals are there, so organization can achieve. Yet if some other situation arises, if there it is a change in the environment, then in that case employees have freedom to behave flexibly and can rectify the problem or can change their behaviors according to the changing situations. So here next given a formalization. Here it is formalization. Okay. That is formalization given. Formalization means written rules. So formalization is the use of written rules and procedures to standardize operations. So here written rules. If written rules are used for standardizing operations, then that is known as formalization. High level of formalization typically implies centralization of authority. So that is direct relation in between the formalization and centralization of authority. How if high level of formalization is there in the organization, then there is centrality of authority. And mutual adjustment typically implies decentralization, and if there is a high level of mutual adjustment, then we can say that that is, I mean, the organizational authority is highly decentralized, or you can say highly not means there is decentralization to a larger extent. So why we say that if there is mutual adjustment, then in that case there is decentralization of authority, because employees must have the authority to commit the organization to certain actions when they make decisions. So next given here, socialization understood norms. So what is socialization? So socialization norms are standards or styles of behavior that are considered typical for a group of people. So whatever what typical for here given a standard, norms are standards. So here standards or a style of behavior that are typical for a group that comes. So now here norms are, what are norms? Norms are standards or style of behavior, or standards or style of behavior that are considered typical for our group of people. The process by which organizational members learn the norms of an organization and internalize these unwritten rules of conduct is socialization. It means the process by which the members of the organization internalize these norms is known as socialization. Next, given standardization versus mutual adjustment. So the design challenge. So the design challenge facing management is find a way of using rules and norms to standardize behavior while at the same time allowing for mutual adjustment to provide employees with the opportunity to discover new and better way of achieving organizational goals. Okay. So the basic challenge for the organization is that uh, here standardization is also important and mutual adjustment also important. Okay, because for some activities in the organization standardization is required, and for some activities in the organization mutual adjustment is required. So here that is the challenge, that how that can be established that for some activities standardization should be used, and for some other activities mutual adjustment should be used. Next, even mechanistic and organic organizational structure. Two useful concept of understanding how managers manipulate all the challenges, means whatever challenges I have explained, means balance in between decentralization, centralization, mutual adjustment and standardization, the balance in between differentiation and integration. So the all challenges, okay, managers can solve those all challenges by manipulating. Now here given concept understanding how managers manipulate all these challenges collectively to influence the way an organizational structure work. Okay, those all challenges can be uh, taken, or you can say can be overcome by designing certain types of a structure in the organization. So two concepts are given. So first concept here given mechanistic structure, and the second given is organic structure. So managers manipulate those all problems. They try to analyze those all problems, and to sort out those all problems, they use these two concept to establish or to develop a structure of the organization. The first structure uh, to overcome those challenges here given mechanistic structure. So mechanistic structures are designed to induce people to behave in a predictable, accountable ways. Decision making authority is centralized, subordinates are closely supervised, and information flows mainly in a vertical direction down a clearly defined hierarchy. So now you can see here. So in mechanistic structure, so what happened in people behave in a predictable and accountable ways, and decision making authority is highly centralized, and subordinates are closely supervised, and the information flows mainly in a vertical direction, in downward direction. Okay, there is usually a one-to-one correspondence between a person and a task. So these are the characteristic of mechanistic structure. So in a mechanistic structure, the hierarchy is the principal integrating mechanism both within and between functions. So here given mechanistic, in the mechanistic structure, hierarchy is the principal integrating means hierarchy meaning. So here there is established way who reports to whom. Okay, means for each and every one there is superior, and there is subordinate. So everyone knows that to whom he is going to report for his or her action. Second given here, organic structure. So organic structure promote flexibility, so people initiate change and can adapt quickly to changing conditions. Organic structures are decentralized, so that the decision making authority is distributed throughout the hierarchy. People assume the authority to make decisions as organizational needs dictate. Roles are loosely defined, and people continually develop new kinds of job skills to perform continually changing tasks. Now you see here, this is flexible structure. Organic structure is flexible organizational structure. So here people initiate changes. So what people, so here in case of organic structure, people initiate changes and adapt quickly to the changing conditions. They develop they learn different skills. People learn different skills to find the solutions for the problems which arise due to changing environment in case of organic structure. Here next given the contingency approach to organizational design. So what it says, the contingency approach. So the contingencies are resources of uncertainty facing an organization shape the organizational design. Means contingency are what? Uncertainty, sources of uncertainty. So uncertainty is there in the environment, and the contingencies are nothing but the sources. Contingency or sources of uncertainty. We can say contingencies are sources of uncertainty. So here you can see contingency are the sources of uncertainty facing an organization, and those uncertainty will, okay, those uncertainties will shape the organizational design. Here given contingency approach to organizational design tailors organizational structure to the sources of uncertainty facing an organization. It means the organizational design is tailored by the uncertainty, means how much uncertainty is there in the environment. Accordingly, the structure of the organization is going to develop. According to contingency theory, in order to manage its environment effectively, an organization should design its structure to fit the environment in which the organization operates. So it means organization means in whatever organization, oh sorry, in whatever environment the organization is operating, so organizational structure is going to develop according to the contingency means the uncertainty means the problems in the environment. There should be proper fit in between the environment and the organizational structure if the organization has to be effective. Next here given Lawrence and Loss means differentiation, integration and the environment. So how differentiation, integration and environment are related. So here given when the environment is perceived as unstable, so now here relation among differentiation, integration and environment, how these are related. So when the environment is perceived as unstable and uncertain, organizations are more effective if they are less formalized and more reliant on mutual adjustment. So now you see, whenever the environment is unstable and uncertain, then we should use mutual adjustment for organizational structure and design. When the environment is perceived as relatively stable and certain, organizations are more effective if they have more centralized, formalized, and standardized structure. And if the environment is relatively stable and certain, then in that case we should use a centralized, formalized, and standardized structure for the organization. Organizations must adapt their structures to match the environment in which they operate if they are to be effective. So now you see here written, the organization should be effective only in the case if the structure of the organization is in such a way that it matches the environment. If there is proper match in between the environment and the structure of the organization, then the organization will be effective. Here given the, you can see here double-headed arrow given environmental uncertainty. If we go to the left, it means environmental uncertainty is low, and if we go to the rightward, then environmental uncertainty is high. So whenever environmental uncertainty it is low, then in that case we should use mechanistic structure, and if environmental uncertainty is high, then we should use organic structure. So characteristics of mechanistic structure given. So mechanistic structure means simple structure, low differentiation, low integration, centralized decision making, standardization. Okay, these are the characteristics of mechanistic structure. And in case of organic structure is complex structure, high differentiation, high integration, decentralized decision making and mutual adjustment. So these things we should consider in case of organic structure. Okay, so I think that is sufficient for this video.